Hopefully everyone can hear me now. I was having some technical difficulties, but got them all under control now. So if you can hear me, let me know in the chat by just giving me a yes or a thumbs up. Perfect. Okay, very good. Very good. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. Sorry about that. We had a little bit of difficulty. So tonight we are going to be talking the HR structural models. And a few weeks ago, I asked you guys a poll question, and it was about which topic you needed to see most. And an overwhelming number of people chose the HR structural model. So that is what we're going to be diving in tonight. And I think we're going to go through each one of the models one by one, but I also think that before we get started going into the structural models and the alternatives, there is a little bit of backstory or a little bit more information that you need to know. So in order to understand these models, you need to know the difference between an organization's strategy and the organization's vision. So the vision is the overarching theme of the organization. It is the thing that the organization hopes to accomplish in the next 5 years or in the next 10 years. It is ultimately what that organization stands for and what it wants to become. And that is what sets the guiding principles of the organization. That is the vision. Now, the strategy are all of the activities that are going to help us to get to the vision. This is super important for you to remember. So an organization's vision may be, let's say that this is a toy company, and the toy company's their vision is to be a globally recognized toy company. The strategies are all of the things that they are going to do to become a globally recognized toy company. So one of the strategies may be to open a new store in every state in the United States, right? So that's one of the strategies. The other strategy may be to become known for the best customer service in the toy industry, right? These are all of the things that are going to help that organization become the globally recognized toy brand that they want to become. That is, and keep that in mind as we are going through our structural models, because I'm going to refer to the strategy, the guiding principles, and the vision pretty often, and I want you to remember the difference between those. Okay, so let's start there. And also want to remind you before we get started that we are going to be talking about the structure of HR. The structure of the organization is a little bit different than the structure of HR. So the way that HR structures itself is the way that it decides it can best support the organization's strategy. So HR strategy is always going to align with the organizations, and we are going to adopt the structure that is going to best help us do that. So traditionally, there have been two really big structures, right, that we have to choose from in HR. That is the centralized structure and the decentralized structure. So first, we're going to talk about the centralized structure. So if you see here on your screen, and I'm going to make it a lot bigger for you. So if you can see here on your screen, the centralized structure has a corporate HR office, right? So it may be referred to as the home office. It might be referred to as headquarters, but these are the decision makers. So in a structure, in a centralized HR structure, the corporate office makes all the decisions. The organization has a vision where it is trying to go, and they have decided upon the strategies that are going to get there. Now, the centralized HR function has adopted the HR strategies that are going to align with the organization strategies. And the HR at the corporate office makes sure everybody in the organizations follows the same strategy and they're all doing the same activities associated with that strategy. So they may have business unit 1, 2, 3, 4, but it doesn't matter how many business units they have. All of the business units defer to the corporate HR. So they are the ones deciding how much the pay is going to be. They are the ones deciding the training activities. They are the ones deciding the engagement activities. And then they hand them down to all of the business units, and all of the business units do the exact same thing, whatever it is that is dictated by corporate. So this organization strategy is to grow the market by building a stronger, more loyal customer base. And HR is to develop strategies that is going to help grow the market by building a stronger, more loyal customer base. And then they tell everybody else, all of the other business units, what to do, what activities that are going to get us there, right? So that is the centralized structure. Decisions come from the corporate office and everybody follows whatever it is the corporate office says. Now, the next structure that we are going to talk about is the decentralized HR strategy. The decentralized HR strategy also has a corporate office. The corporate office decides on the strategy. Remember, the strategy is how we're going to get to where we're going. So this organization strategy is the same: to grow the market by building a stronger, more loyal customer base. HR needs to develop strategies that are going to get them there. So the corporate office sets the strategy, but the business units can decide which activities are going to help them support the strategy. So they're all going in the same direction. They're doing the same thing. They are trying to build a stronger, more loyal customer base. But business unit 1 might say, okay, we need to build a stronger, more loyal customer base. But what our employees need in order to do that is training. We have to help them to enhance their customer service skills. So that's what we're going to do. And our pay is going to be based on people who can do that the best, or people who can do that the fastest, or people who take more training. We're going to offer an incentive or a tiered pay based on who can get through these trainings, right? Business unit 2 might say, we're following the same strategy. We're trying to build a stronger, more customer loyal base, but our employees need product knowledge. So what we are going to do is equip our employees with product knowledge, and that is going to help them better assist the customers, and that is going to help them provide insights. That is what is going to be a more loyal customer base for us. And all of the activities in our pay and all of our HR activities are going to be based around this activity, right? So I have the right to decide. This business unit 2 has the right to decide what is going to make their business unit most successful, but it is based on the same strategy. Business unit 3, same thing. They say, I hear what you're saying, business unit 1 and business unit 2, but what we need to do is make sure that we increase our customer satisfaction. So we are going to build that into our performance reviews. So we are going to make sure that our performance reviews are very heavy on that. And what our employees do is going to reflect that. And we are going to give them incentives based on performance reviews. You guys may give incentives, business unit 1, on training, but we are focusing on performance reviews. So they are being guided by the same strategy, but they are doing different activities that align with that strategy. But it doesn't matter what activities they're doing. It all comes back to they are trying to grow their market by building a stronger, more loyal customer base. One is choosing training to do that. One is choosing more product knowledge. And one is choosing to make that a part of the performance goals, right? But they are all being guided by the same strategy. Okay, so that is our decentralized structure. Now we're going to hop on over to our dedicated HR structure. And a lot of times the dedicated HR structure and the decentralized HR structure is where people get a little bit mixed up. And this is where it is most important for you to understand the difference between strategy and vision, right? And what it means to have a strategy. So remember, in the decentralized structure, the organization is being guided by the same strategy, even though they're doing different activities, guided by the same strategy. But in the dedicated HR structure, the corporate team has an overarching vision, right? We're all trying to get to the same place in the next 5 or the next 10 years, but we all have a different strategy to get that done. So remember, in the decentralized structure, everybody had the same strategy. They just had different activities. But in the dedicated structure, every business unit has a different strategy. So let's just say that on your screen here, this represents a financial firm. So this financial firm's overarching vision is to be the biggest financial firm in the United States, right? So that is their overarching vision. The strategy that business one uses is around wealth management, because this is the wealth management business unit. So the strategies that they are going to develop are going to be around wealth management and making themselves known for wealth management. So the strategy is going to be to leverage cutting edge financial technology to enhance the portfolio management. Business Unit 2 is the tax division. So their strategy is going to be around tax. Their strategy is to implement tax efficient strategies to maximize after-tax returns and minimize liabilities. Business Unit 3 is the mortgage and loan division. So they have a different strategy. Theirs is to position the bank as a trusted customer-focused institution that offers service and innovative mortgage solutions. Now, they are all trying to get to the same vision. That is to be the biggest financial firm in the world. But since Business Unit 1 is a wealth management, it cannot do what Tax Division 2 does. It has to have a different way of getting there, because if I walk into a wealth management firm and they are sitting there trying to tell me something about maximizing my returns and minimizing my liabilities, I'm not coming back. And you are never going to get to your vision that way, because I came in for wealth management and you are telling me about mortgage and loan. That's not what I'm here for. I came in for taxes. I'm stressed about this tax situation, and you're over here trying to get me to take on a new mortgage. I'm not coming back here, because that's not what I came for in the first place. So each business unit has to focus on what their strategy is that is going to help the organization as a whole get to the vision. Remember, decentralized, they had the same strategy. Dedicated structure, they have a different strategy. Each business unit has a different strategy, right? And they are doing the things that is going to advance that business unit. So essentially, these business units are running like their own little small companies. They're kind of doing their own thing, while in a decentralized structure, it is more easily recognizable that, hey, this is all of, the same organization, and they're pretty much doing the same thing. They just have different activities, right? Okay, so that is the dedicated HR structure. I'm going to stop for 1 second and I'm going to check the comments. I want to see if anybody has any questions in the comments. Just let me know if I need to slow down, or if I lost you anywhere, or if there are any questions at all. Okay, perfect. I have no questions so far. So that means we're okay to move on to the functional HR structure. So you have here on your screen what the functional HR structure looks like. So the functional HR structure is also guided by a corporate office. And in that corporate office, you have different functional specialists. So the corporate training specialist works at the corporate office, the benefits specialist works at the corporate office, the talent specialist works at the corporate office, and the employee relations specialist works at the corporate office. When there is a new policy that needs to be crafted about training, the training specialist steps in. The training specialist crafts that policy. When there's something going wrong in the business units and they're saying, hey, we're getting too many product recalls, there's something happening down there in those business units. So then the training specialist steps in and say, this is what we need to do to get that corrected. We need to require X, Y, and Z. This is the new policy. At the business unit, you will have an HR generalist who is sitting at the business unit, right? The corporate training specialist is in the corporate office, just crafting the policies. The HR generalist actually is sitting in the business unit. So here we have a north, a south, and an east division. In the north, south, the east division, everyone has an HR generalist. Once the corporate training specialist sees the need for a new policy, they craft the policy and then they say to the HR generalist, they get on the phone, they call them, they email them, they say it in the seminar, however they get in contact with them, and they say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. HR generalist, here is a new policy. We are having so many recalls. I am now going to require everybody to have a 30-day review training, right? They have to have new trainings every 30 days until we see a decrease in these recalls. Then the HR generalist takes that information from the training specialist and makes sure that everybody at the business unit is in compliance. So the HR generalist does the legwork. The HR generalist says, hey, Johnny, you haven't done your 30-day review. It's time for you to make sure you get that done. The HR generalist calls the town hall and say, hey, we have new policies from corporate. This is what we're going to do. They speak to the managers and they are the ones saying, how can we best get this done to make sure that we're having 30 days? How are we going to track this? How are we going to keep up with it? All of those things. So they do the legwork at the business unit. They are sitting at the business unit. The corporate training specialist sits at corporate. They craft the policies. They tell the generalist, and the generalist execute it at the business unit level. Okay. Any questions about the functional structure before we move on to the matrix structure and the business partner structure? Because these two sometimes get a little confusing. Okay, I don't see any questions in the chat, so I think it is safe for us to move on. We're going to move now to the matrix structure. So in the matrix structure, the HR professional reports to different leaders in the organization. So the HR professional directly reports to the human resource manager, because this is an HR professional. So directly they report to the human resource manager. They have a solid line reporting to the human resource manager. You can see here, I have a solid line here. So if we were looking at the org chart, this HR business partner would report to the HR manager, but they may have a dotted line reporting to the operations manager, because maybe they are working on some kind of project, right? Or, they are doing something specific with this HR manager, so they need to work alongside them as the partner with them to make sure that this project is getting taken care of. But this HR business partner is a human resource employee. They have a solid line, direct reporting line to human resources and not operations. Very important for you to remember. Now, in that matrix structure, HR professionals report to multiple managers, because they are trying to integrate the strategic HR responsibilities across the various functions. In that case, it could have been, in operations, we're trying to put some kind of strategies into there. The business partner structure is, this one says matrix at the top here, but just make a note that this is the business partner structure. This is not the matrix structure. We just talked about the matrix structure. I know they look a little bit alike, but I'm going to highlight the difference. So this is the business partner structure. In this structure, the HR business partner has a solid line to operations, and the dotted line is to human resource. So if you're looking at the org chart, you will see this partner reporting to the operations manager. That will be their boss. This is where they're reporting to. So when we have a business partner structure, it is because we are trying to deeply embed the HR professional within that specific business unit. Usually it's because we're trying to give them some kind of tailored support, or we are trying to align some kind of unit specific need. And the HR professional is now embedded into that business unit. It could be any business unit. It may be operations, right? It could be sales. We may need some kind of specialized talent for sales, and somebody says we need to have a business partner that supports sales, right? Somebody needs to figure out what the talent acquisition strategy is, what the retention strategy is going to be, what is the engagement strategy going to be. We need somebody in sales. So now this business partner becomes a partner of operations. They have solid line reporting to operations, but because they are working on HR specific activities, sometimes there are going to be some crossing. So they will have a dotted line reporting to the human resource manager. So business partner structure, solid line, operations, dotted line, human resources. The matrix structure, you are going to have dotted line to a business unit, but the solid line is going to go to human resources. Right? So if we're looking at the matrix structure, if we're looking at the org chart, they are a human resource employee. If we're looking at the business partner structure on the org chart, this person is a operations employee, right? And that's the difference. So any questions about the matrix and the business partner structure? I don't see any questions coming through the chat about either one of these. So I feel like it is safe for us to move on to the next alternative. All right, so a shared service and a center of expertise. These two have some overlap, right? So on the left side, you will see the illustration of the shared service. On the right side, you'll see the illustration of a center of expertise. So in the middle, you see the overlap. Both the shared service and the center of expertise exist to reduce redundancy. They exist to reduce costs. They exist to deliver service to multiple business units. It exists to improve efficiency. That's both of them. On the left side, though, if we look at the shared service more closely, one of their duties is transactional services. The center of expertise does not exist for transactional services. Shared service exists for non-core activities, right? While the center of expertise is for strategic activities. Shared service, high volume tasks. Center of expertise, they take on specialized responsibilities. Shared service, repetitious duties. The center of expertise is specialists who deliver best practices, right? So the difference between a shared service and a center of expertise, the way that I always think about it, is the difference between maybe a yellow belt and a black belt, right? So your shared service is the yellow belt. They know the moves, right? They know what to do. They know how to do the punches. They know how to do the kicks. But the center of expertise, being a black belt, they are the masters. The center of expertise understand the foot placement, so they can give us the best practices. They can teach others how to do things. So what usually happens is a shared service exists for so long. Just imagine a shared service, existing for 20 years. So we have this shared service for so long. They do the same things over and over and over again every day for the last 20 years. They've seen all the problems. They've worked through all the problems. They have a level of expertise has developed because of the familiarity of the task. So they understand how to avoid the pitfalls. If somebody comes in and needs to get something set up, then this shared service, they know how to get it done after so long. This is when they morph into a center of expertise. They become a hub of experts. They usually evolve from a shared service to a center of excellence because they become experts after doing it for so long. The difference is the shared service, this is how they come to be. This is how they exist. A center of expertise does not exist for transactional services. Now, can they sometimes do transactional services? They can sometimes, a center of expertise can sometimes take on those non-core activities and transactional services because they may have evolved from a shared service. So that may have been how they became a center of expertise. They've done it for so long, they become the experts. So in some cases, they still do those non-core activities. But the reason that they exist at the core is for strategic duties. A shared service can never be a center of expertise, right? Because the shared service cannot take on strategic activities. Center of expertise can take on shared service duties, but a shared service can never be a center of expertise because they are for transactional work. The center of expertise can do transactional work, but they are also the experts, right? So even though they have some overlap, they have some similarities. The reason that they exist is different. The center of expertise is centered on strategic activities. The shared service kind of just exists to make people's lives easier, to reduce redundancy, save money, all of those different things, right? So the reasons are different. That's the difference between them. And we are getting down now to our last we're getting to our last alternative here, which is outsourcing. And outsourcing, I think everybody has probably had some kind of background with, so this may be an easy one for everybody to grasp. Okay, so outsourcing happens when HR sends out its non-strategic HR tasks. Some of the most common things that we send out to other firms is recruitment. We allow people to help us with that. Open enrollment, we allow people to help us with that. Now, recruitment doesn't mean talent acquisition. We don't release talent acquisition. We will release recruitment, but not talent acquisition. Open enrollment is another thing. And then a lot of the times we have third parties doing the background checks for us. Right, so outsourcing means sending work out. There is an alternative to outsourcing called co-sourcing, which is when we allow a third party to be the executors, like they do the work for us, but they sit on site, right? And that way we can have more control over what they're doing. So it helps us to kind of give guidance, but then we also don't have to take away time to do activities that are non-strategic, right? But we can still provide the guidance and oversee, right? So that is the last of our structures. Now I want to test to make sure that everybody was on board, everybody got it. There are no questions, and this is a good time for us to just kind of talk through things and just help me to see, how well everybody grasps all of the structures. All right, so I have a couple of scenarios that I'm going to put on the screen here, and they are going to describe one of the structures that we have just talked about. And it is your job. Just drop it in the chat, and I'm going to wait to give everybody a chance to think through it and drop it in the chat. So you tell me which structure is being described based on this scenario. Okay, so this scenario says remote locations must follow the standardized benefits package outlined by the home office when making offers to new hires. Which of the structures is being illustrated in this scenario? And just put it in the chat, and I'm going to give you a chance to monitor. So think about all the structures that we've just talked about and which one most closely aligns with the remote locations having to follow a standardized process, and that standardized process is handed down by the home office. Okay, good. Functional, centralized. Yes, some answers coming in. I do see the most people chose centralized, and centralized is the correct answer, right? So remember, this question says remote locations have to follow standardized benefits package outlined by the home office when making offers to the new hires, right? So remember, in a centralized structure, we have the home office or the corporate. They have the strategies and they decide all of the activities. If this were a functional structure, it would have given us some hint that there is an HR generalist at the remote locations who is making sure that this thing gets done. But absent of that information, we can't assume it, right? And so this is more closely aligned with a centralized structure than a functional, because we don't have any information about there being like an HR generalist or somebody at the remote locations. Okay, very good. Let's go to the let's go ahead and go to the next question. So this question says, a tax firm's job description standards are established by the HR manager at each location. The tax firm's job description standards are established by the HR manager at each location. Oh, somebody said I didn't give enough time the last time. I'll give a couple more seconds. I think there's a bit of a delay, so it's hard for me to tell like when you guys get the question. So I'll try to give an extra beat. The tax firm's job description standards are established by the HR manager at each location. Okay, very good. Answers coming in. Seems like everybody may be a little bit unsure about this one. No, I guess it's just that delay again. So, okay, yeah, we have answers coming in now. And for the most part, I will say that everybody seems to be in agreement. I'll wait another second. I don't want to give it away. Make sure everybody has a chance. All right, you guys chose decentralized, and decentralized is the correct answer. Right, so the HR manager is sitting at these different business units, and the HR manager is saying, this is the activity that is going to, this is the job description that is going to make most sense for people in my region. Like maybe one location is in a really hot region, and the HR manager says, we need to make sure that in our job description, we really let them know that this is climate controlled and that we have things that are going to keep them cool, and we work half days. We don't work past, 1 p.m., right, to keep them cool. And we need to make sure that's in the job description. Then in the other business unit, they may say, oh, our job descriptions need to make sure that we let everyone know that we take employee health care very seriously. It may be in an area where people have been known to have bad health care or something. So we make sure that we talk most about that health care, so that people recognize that, hey, this is a company that we want to work for. So they are making a decision about the job description standards based on the needs of that business unit. So they're following the same strategy, and the strategy may be to attract more specialized talent. But in every region, the business units say our specialized talent is going to be looking for this. And the other business unit says, but our specialized talent is going to be looking for this, right? And so they can craft it based on, what they need in each region. But it looks like everybody got that one correct. So you guys are on a roll. I'm not going to beat a dead horse. We are going to go ahead and go to the next one. Okay, so this next one says a streamlined HR team processes onboarding documents for every branch. A streamlined HR team processes onboarding documents for every branch. There are some keywords here that should give it away. Streamlined HR team processes onboarding documents for every branch. Okay. Didn't see anyone choose shared service, but shared service is the correct answer. So what should have given that one away is, first of all, it said streamlined. We know why shared services and for the most part, why Center of Excellence exists as well. Oh, okay. I see. I think it was just coming in slow. You guys are saying shared service. So they exist to reduce redundancy, to be more efficient, right? And so streamlining makes us more efficient. And they are offering these activities to every business unit, and they are streamlined services. All right, so very good. Shared service, it is for that one. Yvette, did you have a question about this one? Or was not a typo? If you have a question, go ahead and put it in the chat and we can revisit it. We haven't gone too far that we can't revisit it. So let me know. Okay, so let's move on to our next one. It says local HRBPs roll out the updated training requirements mandated by the corporate training specialists. Local HRBPs roll out the updated training requirements mandated by the corporate training specialists. Okay, I got you, Yvette. Hopefully that explanation gave you a little bit of clarity. Right. Local HRBPs roll out the updated training requirements mandated by the corporate training specialist. Give a little bit more time here. Okay. Local HRBPs roll out the updated training requirements mandated by the corporate training specialists. Have a couple answers coming in here, and you guys have a consensus of the answers that are coming in, and everybody is choosing functional, and functional is the correct answer. So we have this training specialist sits at the corporate office. The HRBP is doing the execution according to the scenario, so that fits right into the functional HR structure. And I also wanted to make you aware that question said in HRBP. So remember when we talked on my example, it was HR generalist. So I gave you HRBP because I didn't want you to start thinking too rigidly, right? Could be an HRBP, could be a generalist, could be an HR manager. The title that people call themselves is not what matters. It is the way that it's set up is what makes it, functional or centralized or whatever it is. Okay, next one. An HRBP reporting to sales works with the sales manager to improve talent attraction and develop training programs dedicated to customer service. An HRBP is reporting to sales and also works with the sales manager to improve talent attraction and develop training programs dedicated to customer experience. This one might be a little tricky. All right, the HRBP reports to sales, works with the sales manager to improve talent attraction, and develop training programs dedicated to customer service. I see but one person who has the correct answer, and I am so proud of you, Sheila. Very good. Sheila was the only person who chose the business partner. The key word here is this HRBP reports to sales. So remember, in a matrix structure, we have an HR employee that reports to HR. They have a dotted line reporting to the business in a matrix structure. But in a business partner structure, they have a solid line reporting to a business unit or some other function other than HR. So they are embedded in that business unit, right? Or they are embedded in that function for something, for a specific task. And they have a solid line reporting to HR, not a dotted line. I'm sorry, a dotted line reporting to HR, not a solid line. So the solid line reporting in the business partner structure is to the business. The dotted line is to HR. Okay. Any questions about this one? Because I did just see one person get it right. Oh, Deanna, she changed. Okay. Just a little bit. I'm looking at the chat, so if you have questions, just drop those questions in the chat. Very good. All right, let's go to the next one. Talent specialists develop and standardize best practices for employee development, offering specialized training and resources to all branches. We have talent specialists. They develop and they standardize the best practices for employee development. They offer specialized training and resources to all branches. Hey Trey, it's good to see you. Trey, guys, is recently senior certified on the first try. And he has so much insight. You guys come back to my YouTube channel on Monday, and I will have a video with all the tips from Trey. Give some really good tips. All right, so let's drop your answer in the chat. Talent specialists develop and standardize best practices for employee development, offering specialized training and resources to all branches. This one seems to have been a little bit harder for everybody. And the correct answer is the center of expertise. All right, so we have specialists. They are developing the best practices and they are offering that training for those best practices, and they are also offering resources around those standardized practices to all of the branches. So remember, that is why the center of expertise exists. Guys, I think the delay is what's causing this, right? So I see the answers, center of expertise, center of excellence. I see those answers coming through now. I think it is the delay that got us that time. Oh, Yvette says she did remember the slide, but she just couldn't remember the name. So that's good. It tells you, that you are getting there. You just need to do a little bit of work, have a little bit of work to do to make sure that you can commit those things to memory. So that's good. That's very good. All right, let's move to the next one. A talent acquisition specialist works closely with the project manager, with the project lead to fill roles specific to ongoing projects, while also aligning recruitment strategies with the VP of HR. Right, so this is a TA specialist. They are working closely with the project lead to fill roles for projects, but they are aligning their recruitment strategies with HR. Okay, I don't want to give it away. I feel like I'm emphasizing too many words. So I'm going to give you guys a chance to think through it and then drop your answer in the chat. I don't want to give it away because this is also a good way for you to, test yourself to see. All right, I'm going to give everybody a few more seconds here. Remember, we have a TA specialist working with a project lead. They are filling roles specific to the project, but they are aligning their recruitment strategies with the VP of HR. All right, very good. I see some answers coming in here. And everybody says matrix. And matrix is the correct answer. What gives this away is that this talent acquisition specialist is aligning the strategies with the VP of HR, right? So that's where they are getting their recruitment strategy from, even though they are working on this specific project. Now, in a functional, I don't know why I don't know why I'm saying functional, but in a business partner strategy, the business partner is choosing recruitment strategies that best align with that business unit or that function that they are working in. So they are not trying to align their recruitment strategies with the VP of HR's recruitment strategies, because what the VP of HR's recruitment strategy could be drastically different from what that business unit needs that they are being embedded in. If we are working in let's go back to our sales example. If we're working in sales and they need people who have with highly specialized customer service experience, that is what we are going to be looking for. Our recruitment strategy is going to be centered around looking for people with that kind of experience and background. The VP strategy may be to hire people with for the entire organization with very technical experience, right? And so that's why we embed an HRBP in a business unit, right? Or, in a function, because there is something specific that that business unit or that function needs that they can't get from the entire HR team, right? So in the matrix structure, we would align with HR because we are an HR employee, but then there is a dotted line to the business. And that makes the difference. Okay. All right. We are winding down here. I do believe I think we have maybe just one more. All right. So let's get to it. This one says, a multinational company hires a local agency to coordinate travel arrangements for its candidates. A multinational company hires a local agency to coordinate travel arrangements for its job candidates. multinational company hires a local agency to coordinate travel arrangement for its job candidates. I feel like for some reason, I don't know why, I feel like this is the easiest one. And it may not even be. It may not be easy at all. Maybe just my own thought. But answers are coming in and everybody is in agreement. It is outsourcing. And outsourcing is the correct answer. All right, very good. We are sending work out, right? And it is a non-strategic task. It's just arranging travel. So that's just helpful. All right, next one. So we do have another one. An accounting firm has an HR team focused solely on managing the strategies that support income tax preparation. Accounting firm has an HR team focused solely on managing the strategies that support income tax preparation. HR team focused solely on managing the strategies that support income tax preparation. Answers are coming in, and I see the correct answer. This firm has a team that has a different strategy, right? They are focused on just one strategy, and that is income tax preparation, but the firm has other business units with other strategies, so now we have a dedicated HR structure. Okay, and that is all we have on the HR models and the alternatives to those models. Do we have any questions? I'm going to give you a few minutes to get your questions in there before we say goodbye for the evening. If you have any questions, please do drop it in the chat. This video will be reposted. It'll be reposted pretty shortly here. You are welcome, Sheila. Does anybody, well, based on the poll, it looks like everybody was having trouble with the structural model. So hopefully this cleared some of that up for you if you were having some issues. And if not tonight, you can always go back and watch. And it may take you a couple of times to watch it for you to, really grasp everything. But you will get there. Okay, well, some of you I will see in class on Saturday. Also, if you need more help with the structural models, practice makes perfect. So aside from attending class, make sure you are using practice questions. You can go to App Store, Apple Store, or Google Play Store and download the app HR Exam Prep with Angela. And there are literally, there are about 750 practice questions in that app, right? And flashcards, and you'll have the opportunity to ask questions there as well. So that may be a good way for you to get some more practice. All right. All right. Well, if there is nothing else, then I guess we will say